Hi there folks, time for the episode you've all been waiting for. The one where I talk about Archie. Okay, look, it was either this or I talked about Benedict Cumberbatch, alright? Hi there folks, Professor Thorgi here again to be your guide to all things geeky, and this week something very surprising happened in the comic book industry. It was announced that Archie was going to be getting relaunched all the way back to issue number 1. Now, Archie had been one of the longest running comic book series out there. It was one of those series that people thought might actually hit issue 1000. Like, it was pretty much guaranteed that Action Comics was going to do that, and then right behind that Detective Comics, but then the New 52 happened, and that, among many things, like my hopes and dreams for DC Comics, kind of went out the window. So everybody else's big guess after that was Archie. Archie had to be the one. Like, that seemed like the one. No one's gonna relaunch Archie. Why on earth would you relaunch Archie? They're relaunching Archie. But that's not the surprising part. The surprising part is their mission statement on this new book and the creative team on this new book. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But before that, let's kind of start with an introduction to Archie. To anybody who doesn't know anything about Archie. I don't know anything about Archie. Okay, fine, you got me. I like to be a guide to kind of all things geeky, to kind of help people get into whatever they want to be interested in. But when it comes to Archie, that's one of the gaps in my education. I didn't really learn about Archie when I was growing up. I didn't read anything about Archie. And Archie helped a lot of people get into comics. Like, it's been great for people. I might not have read Archie, but I have no problem with Archie. How many times am I gonna say Archie in this thing? Have a counter down at the bottom. I want this to happen. But I've never had any problems with Archie. It was just, a different kind of book that I didn't read. But I do know that a lot of people, especially a lot of women out there, got into comics because of Archie. And one of the reasons that a lot of women got into comics because of Archie was because when they were kids and they wanted to start reading comics, boys were allowed to read superhero books, but a lot of women's parents would not let them read that. And if you ask a lot of modern day female geeks out there, they will tell you, yeah, when I asked my parents to let me start reading comics, they gave me Archie because that was the approved thing for me. So honestly, that's kind of cool that Archie was able to introduce so many people into comics, especially people who normally would not have been allowed to read comics because of the household that they grew up in. But I just never read Archie. I mean, I know a little bit about Archie. It's impossible to be as big of a geek as I am and not have some kind of like associated knowledge with that character. I know all about Archie. His whole deal is that he's supposed to be like America's neighbor, everybody's best friend. He's the nicest guy in high school. And then there's his best pal, Jughead, who his whole thing is that he eats cheeseburgers and hates the idea of dating women. Which, that'll be interesting in this new pitch that they have coming up. Then there's also Reggie, he's the mean one. Then you got Moose, he's the dumb one because his name is Moose. But then you also have the other two biggest characters in this book, Betty and Veronica. And basically for the 60-some-odd year run of this book, the entire storyline of it has in one way or another revolved around, will Archie end up dating Betty or will he end up dating Veronica? It's the world's longest harem manga in American format. And Betty is meant to be kind of like the down-home, sweet, wholesome girl next door who everybody likes. And then Veronica is kind of the colder, meaner, rich girl who you still kind of want to hook up with, but you don't know why. We make a lot of dumb decisions as men, don't we? So there you go, that's basically it when it comes to Archie, but there have been a lot of other very noteworthy things to come out of Archie, one of which very recently being Kevin Keller, who was an openly gay character that they introduced in the book, and I fully applaud the book for doing that, because, like I said, this book was aimed at kids, and so many people out there are so afraid of introducing the idea of gay people into something aimed at kids. Trust me, kids know what gay people are, and they're totally fine with it. Kids are cooler with gay people than you are, adults. And so I totally applaud Archie for a lot of the things that it's done in its history. So it seems kind of weird that they're relaunching it, and the reason why is because it's going to be very different. First off, the creative team behind this book, which is the biggest surprising thing, it's going to be Mark Waid, who recently has been killing it on Daredevil, and he's about to leave that book for Riverdale, of all places. How do you go from Hell's Kitchen to Riverdale? But, and even more surprising, you've got Fiona Staples is going to be drawing it. Now, Fiona Staples is a big Archie fan. She has done numerous covers for them over its history. But here's the thing. She is currently working on Saga, which is one of the biggest books out there, and being an artist isn't exactly like being a writer where, you know, it takes like maybe a week for a writer to write a comic book. It takes an entire month for an artist to draw that out. So you know she wanted to do this. You know this was a passion project for her. So I applaud her for going for it, and I'm so glad that they're letting her do it. Just let Saga keep coming out on schedule, please. But here's the other interesting thing that they're doing about Archie has always been set in high school, but it has, as I said, been kind of aimed at kids over the past couple decades. But when it came out originally, it's not that it was more edgy, but back in the 50s, it was about as edgy as you could get with comics. I mean, a guy trying to decide whether or not he should date two girls. That was about as far as you could push the line back then. So back then, it was kind of aimed more at that teenager group, and they've said they want to get back to that. They want it to be more of a real-world look at what it's like to be a teenager in America these days. And that's interesting. It's very interesting, and a lot of times when people on the internet say interesting, that's just their way of saying, I think this is stupid, but I'm trying to be nice about it. I'm not doing that. This is legitimately interesting. In fact, put the Webster's Dictionary definition of interesting down below me. That's what that is. Taking these characters who have always been America's high schoolers and putting them in America's high school is a very fascinating idea. I really think that that could be a great thing to see. But my concern is, like I said, for generations, Archie has been that book that introduced kids into comics. If that's gone now, what's it going to be? What's going to be the book that gets all these kids into comics these days? And like I said, yeah, kids are still gonna come and they're still gonna buy Spider-Man and Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and all these other books and the X-Men. But like I said, there was this whole generation of people whose parents did not approve of them reading superhero comics, but they still wanted to read comics, so they gave them Archie. What comic are they going to get now? And you know, maybe they're still gonna put out like some of the Archie stuff. Like they still put out like a little digest, like once a week there will be some kind of an Archie digest. It is impossible to go to the comic book store on a Wednesday and not see something with Archie out there. I doubt that, you know, just because the main series is ending, I doubt that they won't keep reprinting the old stuff, keep having little specials for kids. So, you know, I think it's going to be fine. But here's the thing that's kind of really weirding me out about this. Now, a couple of years ago, in order to kind of address the fact that a lot of Archie's fans have kind of grown up, they put out a book called The Married Life with Archie. And what it was is that each book would have two different stories in it. And it would be two stories set in alternate realities. In one reality, Archie had married Betty. And the other reality, Archie had married Veronica. And basically it would be stories showing him as an adult. As, you know, an adult who's married with a house and responsibilities, kind of trying to address those older fans while still keeping it true to the youthful, playful tone that the original series had. And it still dealt with a lot of really mature topics in there, like one of the characters ended up getting cancer, Kevin Keller ran for Senate and actually dealt with some very real issues that he would actually have to deal with as someone running for Senate. It was actually a really impressive move on their part, and I applaud them for that. But they ended that series, and it ended with an issue where basically both stories merged into one, and it kind of said, okay, no matter which person he dated, this is how the story ends. And it ends with Archie going off and getting shot, trying to protect Kevin. Like someone is trying to assassinate Kevin Keller, and Archie takes the bullet for him. I said he was America's best friend, and he put his life on the line to prove that. But then, you know, a lot of people came into my store on that day and like, oh my god, I can't believe that they actually killed Archie. And I was like, they didn't actually kill Archie, it's just in this alternate future that they created. He's still going to Riverdale. That's still him in those monthly comics coming out that just, you know, show the daily life of Archie. He's still alive in that. But if that series, if that universe is ending, if that universe that has been around forever is ending, that means that's canon. That means we know how Archie died. And that's kind of weird. But then I think about that and I realize that my favorite Archie book of all time, and one of my favorite books of the year, surprisingly enough, is an Archie book where they all turn into zombies. because Jughead gets infected. And yes, they do call him Jugdead. So in all honesty, there's thousands of Archie alternate realities out there. Crisis of Alternate Archies might as well be a book that comes out. Archieverse Team-Ups is a book that I'm looking forward to. So even though it kind of weirds me out thinking about the fact that, wow, that Archie, as soon as his series is over, that's how he died. I'm still gonna be picking up a book each month where he's fighting off zombies, so it doesn't really affect me that much. So yeah, this is kind of a weird day for me because for the first time ever, I'm going to be reading Archie. And I'm actually looking forward to and excited about Archie. That's a sentence I never thought would be coming out of my mouth. But them doing this more realistic world, looking at the issues that kids and teenagers actually are facing in the real world, and with Mark Waid writing and Fiona Staples drawing it, that sounds like a winning combination to me. I can't wait to see it. My only question with it is Jughead. Two things about Jughead here that I don't know if it's gonna work in the real world. First off, no one can eat that many cheeseburgers and not get diabetes. Seriously, man, that's gotta be addressed at some point in this new realistic world. And secondly, what are you gonna do about the hat? I mean, seriously, that was one of Jughead's defining features, was that little crown hat. But the thing is, it wasn't a crown, it was a pork pie hat that people turned upside down back in the 50s, and they would then trim the brims to look like a crown. First off, no one has done that since the 50s, and secondly, no one's even worn a pork pie hat since the 60s. So, what, are you going to update his look? What's going on? I mean, we've seen the early designs, but is that gonna stick? But honestly, I don't care. Keep Jughead for all I care. Have him be the one weird kid who just eats cheeseburgers all day. As long as Mark Waid and Fiona Staples are doing it, I'm excited about it. But I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below about what you think about the new upcoming Archie series. If, it's been a while since I made this video and the series is already coming out, tell me what you thought about it down there. I will be glad to hear what you guys think about this. Also, sorry that we didn't have a video last week, but it was because I was at the Walker Stalker Con in New Jersey. You can see a little clip of the video playing right up there. And I will be putting together a new video feature here on this channel. It's going to be called Convention Crash, or whatever it ends up being called, because the original name that I wanted for it was already taken, and this one might be taken. But it'll be on this site, so just hit that subscribe button if you want to see it. But I'm going to be talking to you about what it's like to work at a con and what it's like to actually have a booth there, which was a whole new experience for us. But thank you very much for tuning in on this episode. I always love having anybody watch these. It is great to know that that is happening. Thank you very much, and come back next week.